Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Happy Monday morning to you. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. I had a very good weekend, and I appreciate you being back with me. We are in the midst of responding to the 23 arguments that Dr. David Hester made in his very first affirmative presentation in our formal debate, July 14th and 15th here in Ardmore, Oklahoma. By the way, for those of you who have asked about DVDs, or MP3s of that debate, yes, we're in the process even now of having those rendered, and I hope to have those back very, very soon, so I'll be making an announcement about that as soon as possible. Well, Dr. Hester's argument number 8 was the resurrection of the dead is either physical or spiritual. And he appealed to John chapter 6, 39, 40, 44, and 54, in which Jesus said, if a man come to me, he will have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. Pardon me. Now, Dr. Hester then argued that cannot be spiritual, because speaking of spiritual resurrection, he then appealed to verse 50 and 51 and John 8:51. But John 6:50 and 51 says, this is the bread which comes down from heaven, and the one who eats of it might live and not die. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If anyone eats this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I shall give is my flesh, which I shall give for the life of the world. Okay. So according to Dr. Hester, John 6:50 and 51 is spiritual resurrection. But John 6:54, whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life. I will raise him up at the last day. Now, for those of you who have been or who will watch and listen to this debate, when you come to Dr. Hester's, quote, argument, unquote, I want to ask you to pay particular attention to what proof he gave that there is a difference between the eternal life, the not dying, of verse 50 and 51 and verse 54. Both speak of eternal life. Both speak of resurrection life. And I ask you as kindly as possible, don't listen to his claims about this being irrefutable. Don't listen to his claims about this being beyond refutation. Pay attention to what he actually said, or in this case, did not say. And by the way, let me point out that at least 6 times in the debate, I made the following argument. The resurrection of Daniel chapter 12, verse 2 is the same resurrection of John 5, 28 and 29, of Acts 24, 14 and 15. David Hester agrees. Well, the resurrection of John 5, 28 and 29 is the resurrection of John chapter 6, the resurrection at the last day. Now, by the way, I modified the form of it to apply to 1 Corinthians 15, but the gist of the argument remains the same. So, again, the resurrection of Daniel chapter 12 is the resurrection of John 5, 28 and 29. The resurrection of John 5, 28 and 29 is the resurrection at the last day. David Hester agrees. But the resurrection of Daniel chapter 12, therefore, is the resurrection of John 6, 39, 44, and 54. Meaning that the resurrection of Daniel 12 is the resurrection at the last day. Oh, but wait. The resurrection of Daniel chapter 12, verse 2 would be and was fulfilled when the power of the holy people was completely shattered, i.e. in AD 70. Pardon me. Did Dr. Hester say a single word about this? Well, he changed his position on Daniel chapter 12, trying to deny that it really was the resurrection of John 5:28 and 29, Acts 24. Well, I entrapped him on that. So he changed his position again and said, well, even if it's true that Daniel chapter 12 applied to AD 70, it doesn't mean it's restricted to that. Well, it does mean exactly like that, because Daniel chapter 12, verse 6 and 7, speaking of the resurrection, the end of the age, etc., said, when the power of the holy people has been completely shattered, all of these things will be fulfilled. He didn't say they would begin to be fulfilled. He didn't say it would be typological fulfillment. He didn't say it is a foreshadowing of a still greater fulfillment. All of these things shall be fulfilled. Now, folks, in the first place, when Dr. Hester goes to John chapter 6 and arbitrarily and capriciously, without offering any kind of contextual proof, any exegetical exercise whatsoever, and simply claims, oh, well, John 6:39, 40, and 44, and verse 51. Now, that's the end of time, but verse 50 and 51, that's a spiritual resurrection that was occurring in Jesus' ministry and in the preaching of the gospel. Without proving anything, without demonstrating anything, then he's in trouble. And when I presented the argument on Daniel chapter 12, and he changed his position in the debate twice, then that he knew he was in trouble. So Dr. Hester's point number 8 is, well, the resurrection is either physical or spiritual. Okay, that's true. But whatever you want the resurrection to be in John chapter 6, the resurrection of John 6 is the resurrection of Daniel 12. The resurrection of Daniel 12 was in AD 70. Therefore, the resurrection of John chapter 6 on the last day was in AD 70. Hey, look, if you want one of the most powerful demonstrations that the resurrection was in fact in AD 70, let me urge you to get my book, 70 Weeks Are Determined for the Resurrection. This is incredibly powerful stuff. Go to my website, eschatology.org, BibleProphecy.com, order the book, mention that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I'll refund your shipping, which will save you $5. Well, thanks so much for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. Pardon me. We have more, and specifically on Dr. Hester's argument number 9 on the resurrection, on the flip side. So we'll see you there.